real direct where I am, and I think many of you have seen this. This raised its head about 2 months ago, only 2 months ago. And I want to thank, pardon? In the volume, I can yell louder. Not a problem, hold it close. Oh, there we go. So this came up about 2 months ago, right? And in 2 months, look what we've done. Okay, people have mobilized across Massachusetts, have linked with resources outside the state, and are going to figure out how we have better energy policy and better solutions for our communities in this generation and in our next generation. So when you look, the first meeting I went to, they said, where do you stand, Andrews? And some of you know me. I was not for biomass large scale. I was there to close Vermont Yankee. I'll be there to clean it up with you. And I'm going to be there to stop this pipeline where it's proposed. It's going to take all of us, all contributing. The media is doing a really good job, Richie Davis, on covering the stories and getting the word out. Thank you, Recorder. The activists stepping up, dividing and conquering, and the landowners getting educated, and people showing up at their select board meetings to let their government know what they want in their communities. That's good for democracy, it's good for the community, and that's what gets built in our communities, is what you want. That's how it's supposed to be, and the only way we're gonna not have this come through is that we are crystal clear with our decision makers. It isn't gonna happen, okay? And I look at these inflection points as a way to evolve our communities, ourselves, and our democracy. And so as we go through this, I love having Annie and the group who have for generations taught us how to use every energy to sing, protest, ask questions, get arrested, and claim communities. So generational learning, and we've got a little one running around here. We need to keep it going. These are our communities. We get to decide what we have and don't. In business, it's a privilege, not a right, to come in and build things that are in the better interest of the community, not in the better interest of profits. So when I look at some positions, you know, you've engaged in our mobilizing. I was at the meeting in Warwick. Who's from Warwick here today? Thank you. I've got 4 towns in my district. Warwick is one of them. They had a 2.5-hour meeting, well run by the moderator, Dawn. The questions were thorough, precise, and broad. They asked everything from wall thickness on the pipes, the size, how many compressor units, what's going to happen to the environment, what about landowner rights, covered the gamut. I think if the other side was paying attention, they saw the intellectual capacity and strength of character that we are so proud of in this area. So when I look at what do we need to do, we need to use this as a catalyst to define a better energy policy for Massachusetts and our communities. You all, some of you taught me what that is. Greening Greenfield, the very first group when I moved home was next to me at the show up at the fairground, Becca King. She said, let me talk to you about what we're doing with Greening Greenfield. Greenfield and some of the communities have led on the number one thing we've got to do, reduce consumption. Okay, reduce consumption. We know how to do it, we're going to have to tighten our belts. Once we reduce consumption, we need to accelerate renewables as the portfolio, okay? So renewables in Massachusetts is leading, but we're only 7% of the portfolio of energy supply is renewables. We got to get that up to like 70, okay? In our lifetime, not 3 generations from now. When they sit there and say in Warwick that we're going to spend $2 billion on this pipeline, the question is, what could we buy for $2 billion on renewables? Yeah. Okay, what could we buy? You know, and it's fascinating to see some of the information presented because things don't hang together, okay? And we'll figure out how they will hang together and we'll hold them accountable. You know, it's one thing to supply good energy policy for us and good supply. It's a whole nother thing to be supporting Europe and export, okay? And the story changes. So we've got to be really clear on what our policy is for here and how we will participate in what we choose to share with other places, okay? So as we go forward, we need to push all your leadership on define Massachusetts energy policy. The current governor, will get an audience with him and give him better information. I was sharing with some of my buddies. 3 weeks ago, I sat down with one of his staff person. I said, what's the governor hearing on this pipeline? He said, oh, he's hearing that most people are supportive of it, per Secretary Sullivan, because the landowners see the benefit to them on the financials. And my comment was, well, that's not what I'm seeing, okay? Every 2 weeks I'm at a meeting with 80 people from across this area saying we don't want it, and this is really a bad solution if we need more supply in the Northeast where we put it, okay? And so I shared with the staff, we will be back to the governor and the secretary with the numbers. The number of signatures, the number of towns that have said no, the number of landowners that have said no. And we have to do this fairly soon, okay? Because Kinder Morgan is well-financed, well-positioned. The gentleman who was presenting in Warwick was in the State House the next day. And they're going to the Department of Public Utilities early June, okay? So we have to be full on to be right there every step of the way. So we've got to get the information out not only to the existing administration, but the future. So I've shared the no frack gas information in my personal position against this with governor candidates Coakley, Grossman, and Berwick. Right. So they understand where I am, where we are, okay? So in closing, I just want you to remember part of your individual legacy and collective legacy is social consciousness and designing communities for a sustainable future for all generations. Stay strong, be ready, and let's rock. Thank you.